You think you lost. But what if I told you you were chosen the moment it was taken from you? What if the heartbreak wasn't the end of your story, but the start of your transformation? You prayed for something, you waited for it, you shaped your whole future around it, but Allah took it, quietly, completely. And now you're left asking, why would Allah give me the desire, but not the result? What you don't know is this: He didn't take it to hurt you. He took it because it was going to hurt you in ways you couldn't survive. Let's reveal what your soul really went through. Lesson 1. You were in love with the future, not the reality. You thought you wanted them. Maybe it was a person, someone you saw a future with. Maybe it was a job, a dream, a status, a chance. You imagined it so clearly, you could feel it. You shaped your dua around it, and when it didn't happen, you felt like something was stolen from you. But what if I told you, you weren't actually in love with them? You were in love with the future you imagined around them. You see, there's a difference. You saw a version of them that was soft, loyal, consistent, healing. You saw what they could become, not who they really were. You didn't fall in love with the truth. You fell in love with the potential, and that's what made it so dangerous. Because potential is not a promise. You told yourself, they just need time. They'll change. We'll grow together. But Allah saw the future you couldn't see. He saw the cracks that hadn't surfaced yet. He saw the way your heart would have been slowly drained. Not all at once, but quietly, in pieces you wouldn't even notice missing. He saw how much of yourself you would have sacrificed, just to keep a dream alive that was never yours to begin with. He saw the nights you would have cried alone, questioning why you settled for a love that only looked right from far away. He saw the opportunities you would have walked away from because you believed someone else was your destiny, and He stepped in, not to punish you, but to protect you from the version of your life that would have destroyed your spirit quietly. It's hard to accept, isn't it, that the thing you prayed for, the person you were ready to build your world around, was never real, not in the way you imagined. But that's the truth. You fell in love with a vision, not a reality. And when Allah saw your heart attaching to something that wasn't true, He removed it, because He doesn't just protect you from pain, He protects you from delusion, from illusions that look like peace, but end in regret. You're not broken because it didn't work out. You're being rebuilt without the weight of false hopes on your shoulders. And one day, when you look back with clearer eyes, you'll whisper to yourself, Ya Allah, thank you for not giving me what I thought I needed. Because what you were chasing was never the dream. It was a test, a mirror, a turning point. And He didn't take away your future. He saved you from a future that would have buried you slowly. That's not rejection, that's divine protection. Lesson 2. What you wanted was your soul's shortcut to self-destruction. You wanted it so badly. It wasn't just a desire. It felt like survival. You told yourself, if I just get this one thing, I'll be okay. It became the thing you woke up thinking about. The thing you made sujood for. The thing you imagined would finally quiet the chaos inside you. But what if I told you that desire was not just a dream? It was a distraction pulling you toward a slow destruction, and Allah saw it. Not because it looked harmful on the surface. No, it actually looked perfect. It felt good. It sounded like mercy. It felt like hope. But not every sweetness is sent from heaven, and not every longing leads you to light. There are some paths that look like healing but lead to chains. There are some people who feel like warmth but slowly steal your fire. And there are some blessings that come dressed like a gift but are really a test in disguise. You were trying to skip the part of your journey that required discomfort. You were trying to heal through shortcuts. You wanted peace, but without patience. You wanted love, but without readiness. You wanted a breakthrough without being broken first. And Allah, in His mercy, stepped in, not with anger, but with precision. He took the shortcut away, not to hurt you, but to make sure you'd still have a soul left when you finally arrived. Because the truth is, you were about to give your heart to something that didn't know how to carry it. You were about to pour your energy into something that would only feed your ego. You were about to rearrange your life for something that was already draining your light. That desire, that person, that path was never designed to protect your soul. It was only satisfying the part of you that didn't want to heal the hard way. It was the easy way out, the fast way forward, but it was a silent death for who you truly are. And Allah saw what you couldn't, that if He gave it to you, you wouldn't grow, you wouldn't awaken, you wouldn't come back to Him. You would have slowly become someone unrecognizable, exhausted, disconnected, chained to something that no longer even reflected your heart. He removed it, not because you weren't good enough, but because you were too precious to be destroyed by something temporary. It's hard to accept that your deepest want was a trap. But it's one of the most powerful mercies in life, when Allah saves you from the thing you were convinced would save you. And maybe one day, when your eyes are no longer filled with longing, but with light, you'll understand. He didn't take it because you weren't worthy. He took it because He was still preparing you for something you won't need to beg to keep. So if it felt like a shortcut, and it ended in heartbreak, know this: Allah redirected you not to delay your destiny, but to protect it from collapsing before you arrived. Lesson 3. It was never yours. It was only meant to awaken you. You held it in your hands, even if only for a moment. And in that moment, it felt real. It felt like something meant for you. The kind of thing your heart had been searching for in silence. The kind of connection, opportunity, or experience that made you whisper, "This must be the answer to my dua." You didn't ask for much. Just that it would stay. Just that it would grow. Just that it would be yours. But it didn't stay. It slipped away, or worse, it was taken. And the confusion you felt afterward was deeper than pain. It was the feeling of watching a dream evaporate in front of you, and not knowing why. But here's the truth you didn't see back then. It was never yours. Not to own, not to keep, not to hold forever. It was only sent to wake you up. Some blessings are not meant to stay in your life. They're meant to shake your soul, to open your eyes, to pull you out of spiritual numbness, to awaken a part of you that had been asleep far too long. You were walking through life on autopilot, praying without presence, living without depth, and then this thing entered your life. And for the first time in a long time, you felt alive again. That's what it was for. It wasn't meant to complete you. It was meant to reveal you. To remind you that your heart is still alive, that your soul can still feel, that you were created for something more. It was a divine interruption, a spark, a test dressed like a treasure. And once it served its purpose, Allah, in His mercy, removed it. Not because it was evil, not because you failed, but because it was only written in your story as a beginning, not an ending. You were never supposed to stay attached to what was only meant to awaken you. Think about it. The version of you who existed before that experience. Would you have made the changes you've made now? Would you have grown this much spiritually? Would you have returned to Allah with this much sincerity? Probably not. So it wasn't a punishment. It was an invitation. Allah allowed something temporary to enter your life, so that something eternal could be born inside you. And even though it hurts, you didn't lose. You woke up. That was the real gift. And waking up is always worth more than anything you had to let go of. So don't curse the thing that left. Don't blame yourself for why it couldn't stay. It did exactly what it was meant to do. It cracked open your heart, so Allah could finally reach you. Lesson 4. If He gave it to you, you would have worshipped it. You said you just wanted it. You told yourself it was normal, it was love, or ambition, or healing, something halal, something good. But over time, the wanting became heavier. It wasn't just a desire anymore. It became your center. You didn't even notice it, but slowly, everything began to orbit around that one thing. You started praying, yes, but you weren't really praying to Allah. You were praying through Him to get what your heart was truly worshipping. Your duas became negotiations. Your thoughts became loops. Your peace began depending on whether that thing would finally happen. And without realizing it, that dream, that person, that desire had become your emotional qibla. It became what your heart bowed to, what your mood depended on, what your worship quietly revolved around. You saw it as a blessing, but Allah saw it becoming your master. And He couldn't let that happen because He loves you too much to let you serve something that was never built to carry your soul. So He removed it, not because you weren't worthy of it, but because it wasn't worthy of you replacing your Lord with it. You see, Allah doesn't just want your sujud, He wants your heart to kneel too. And when something else begins to take that place, when your emotional security becomes tied to anything other than Him, He tears it away, even if it shatters you first. He knows that pain is better than permanent misguidance, because what if He gave it to you? What if He said yes, while your soul was becoming addicted to something other than Him? You would have smiled on the outside, but deep inside, you would have been enslaved to their approval, to the outcome, to whether they stayed or left, to whether the world gave you what you wanted or took it away. And every time that thing disappointed you, you would have questioned your worth. You would have spiraled. You would have forgotten that peace was never supposed to come from creation in the first place, only from the Creator. So Allah stepped in, not to destroy your joy, but to bring your soul back to freedom, because true love, true peace, true blessings don't require you to sacrifice your worship. They bring you closer to Him, not further away. And what you were asking for, no matter how good it looked on the surface, was quietly stealing your heart from the one who gave it to you. That's not love. That's not growth. That's slow spiritual suffocation. And Allah ripped it out so you could breathe again. So if you're crying over what you lost, let those tears be your purification, because what He removed was something that was slowly becoming your idol. And if Allah hadn't intervened, you would have worshipped it until you forgot who you truly are. You weren't rejected, you were reclaimed. Your Lord doesn't lose His beloved ones to false attachments. He fights for them, even when it means pulling them away from the very thing they're begging for. And that is a love no one else can give you. Lesson 5. Your desire was loud, but your soul was starving. There was something you couldn't stop wanting. It was loud inside you, loud in your chest, loud in your thoughts, like a craving you couldn't silence. You told yourself it was natural. You thought, everyone wants this, I just want my turn. But over time, that desire stopped being something simple. It became everything. It started speaking louder than your values, louder than your prayers, louder than your peace. It pulled your focus. It hijacked your imagination. It became the only outcome your heart would accept. But what you didn't realize was this. Your desire was loud, but your soul was starving. Because not all hunger is for food. Some hunger is emotional, some is spiritual, and sometimes when your soul feels empty, you try to fill it with whatever is closest. A person, a plan, a dream, a fantasy. You convince yourself that if I just get this, everything inside me will finally calm down. But that kind of peace doesn't come from having. It comes from healing. And Allah saw that. He saw that you weren't really chasing what you needed. You were chasing what would distract you from what you needed. And the deeper truth is, You didn't just want that person or that thing. You wanted to be seen. You wanted to be chosen. You wanted to feel alive again. You wanted something to pull you out of the numbness. You were trying to fix a soul-level wound with something temporary, something external, something that could never reach that deep. But your soul, it was starving for something else. It didn't want to be fed attention. It wanted to be fed presence. It didn't need validation. It needed direction. It didn't crave noise. It craved nearness to the one who created it. And Allah, in His mercy, removed what you thought you needed. So He could give you what you actually needed. He silenced the noise, so you could finally hear your soul's cry. He took away the thing that was distracting you, so you could finally feel the emptiness you'd been ignoring. Because only when you feel the emptiness do you begin to seek the right filling. And that's where your real healing begins. The desire was never the problem. The problem was the way it was blocking you from addressing what was really hurting underneath. You weren't bad. You weren't weak. You were just using a dream to hide from a wound. And Allah, out of pure love, didn't let that dream come true. Because if it did, you would have kept running, kept numbing, kept forgetting that your heart was created for something far deeper. So He let you lose what you wanted to bring you back to what you needed. Him. Lesson 6. Your pain was the exact doorway to a hidden version of you. You didn't ask for this pain. You didn't sign up to be the one who lost, the one who waited, the one who broke. You were just trying to live, trying to do your part, trying to hold on to something you believed was good. But then it shattered. Suddenly, nothing made sense. The people you trusted became distant. The things you prayed for slipped away. And your soul, it started to feel like a stranger inside your own chest. You tried to fight it. You tried to distract yourself. You told yourself, I'll be fine. But deep down, you were unraveling. And still, in that pain, in that silent collapse, something unexpected began to happen. You started to feel things you never felt before. You started asking questions you never thought to ask. You started seeing yourself, really seeing yourself, in a way you never did when life was easy. Because here's the truth that pain came to teach you. The version of you that Allah was calling toward could only be reached through this breaking. There are doors within the soul that don't open with joy. They open with ache. They open when Allah removes what was keeping you distracted. They open when the old version of you dies, so the real one can finally rise. You didn't lose yourself in this pain. You found yourself. The strength you didn't know you had, it was buried beneath comfort. The depth in your dua, it was hidden beneath ease. The softness in your heart, it only came when life humbled you. And Allah, He knew all along. He knew that to get you to this place, a place of honesty, surrender, awakening, He had to allow what you wanted to fall apart, not to punish you, but to pull you deeper into who you really are. Because without the heartbreak, you wouldn't have reached this level of sincerity. Without the silence, you wouldn't have craved His voice. Without the loneliness, you wouldn't have realized how close He's always been. This pain you hate, it wasn't sent to destroy you. It was sent to reveal you. It was the doorway, the bridge, the tunnel that led you out of the shallow version of yourself and into someone who walks with Allah, not just talks about Him. And yes, it hurts. Transformation always does. But the you that's being born out of this, that version is clearer, quieter, stronger, more connected, more real. And that version is who you were always meant to be. So don't just mourn what you lost. Start honoring what you've found within yourself, because sometimes Allah doesn't rebuild you in the light. He rebuilds you in the dark, where only He can see the process. And when you finally walk out of this season, you won't just be healed, you'll be new. Lesson 7. The delay was a mercy you didn't recognize. You kept asking yourself, why is it taking so long? You were sincere, you were tired, you were holding on while everyone else seemed to move forward. You watched people get what you were praying for. You smiled for them, you clapped for them. But inside your chest, there was an ache, and you tried to be patient. You told yourself to trust Allah. But late at night, the whispers still came. Did I do something wrong? Did Allah forget me? Is this even written for me? You kept showing up, kept praying, kept holding on to the thread of hope, even as your hands started to bleed from waiting too long. But what you didn't see, what you couldn't feel at the time, was that the delay wasn't a rejection. It was a covering, a shield, a mercy dressed as silence. Because if Allah gave it to you back then, it would have arrived in the middle of your unhealed wounds, in the middle of your fears, in the middle of a version of you that wasn't ready to carry it without breaking. Sometimes the very thing we beg for can crush us if we receive it too soon. You thought you were ready, but Allah knew the parts of you that were still soft, still vulnerable, still too dependent on the outcome. So He waited. He paused your story, not to waste time, but to prepare the ground before the seed arrived. Because what's coming into your life is not cheap, it's not ordinary, it's not rushed, it's sacred. And sacred things don't arrive on your timeline, they arrive on His. You don't feed a child fire, and you don't give the heart something it will use to destroy itself. So Allah delayed it, to make you stronger, to make you wiser, to make you whole, so that when it does arrive, you won't worship it, you won't break for it, you'll simply receive it with grace, not desperation. You don't see it yet, but this delay has been holding back things you couldn't have survived. Toxic people, bad timing, unseen consequences. You were asking for the fruit, but Allah was still growing your roots, because He doesn't want you to have a moment of happiness. He wants you to have a life of quiet, real, grounded peace. And that kind of life takes time. So if you're in the middle of a delay, don't think Allah forgot you. He's writing something that lasts, and when it finally comes, you'll thank Him for every not yet, every pause, every redirection, every silent night you spent in sujood wondering, why not now? Because when it does come, you'll realize it didn't come late. It came exactly when your soul was finally ready to keep it. Lesson 8. Allah didn't remove it. He replaced it with Himself. You thought it was taken from you, the person, the future, the moment you were building your life around. It disappeared, and with it, you felt like you lost a part of yourself. You kept looking at the space it left behind, the silence it created, the unanswered prayers, the what-ifs, the unspoken words. It felt like a hole inside your chest, like a wound no one could see, but one you couldn't escape from. You asked, why, Ya Allah? Why give me the feeling and then take away the fulfillment? But here's the secret hidden beneath the pain. Allah didn't just remove it, He replaced it with something far greater. He replaced it with Himself. You didn't notice it at first, because your heart was still echoing with the name of what you lost. But slowly, the pain made you whisper to Him more. The silence made you turn inward. The ache made you raise your hands in a way you hadn't done in years. You stopped talking to people and started talking to your Lord, not out of habit, but out of need. You weren't just asking anymore. You were yearning, and that's when the shift began. You didn't realize it, but your soul was being rewired. The hole they left behind became the very space where Allah entered. Not just in words, not just in rituals, but in your reality. He became your calm when no one answered your messages. He became your light when the nights stretched long. He became your reason to get up, your secret hope, your quiet strength. And now, look at you. You're softer, You're deeper. You're more real. You're not who you were before the heartbreak. You're becoming who you were always meant to be. You thought you were losing, but you were being reclaimed. Because the truth is, Allah will sometimes remove a love that was too loud so you can finally hear His voice again. He'll take away what distracted your heart, not to punish you, but to make room for something sacred, Him, and the one who finds Allah, the one who truly discovers His nearness. That person has found something that can never be lost again. So no, you weren't abandoned. You were brought home. The tears that once fell from confusion, now they fall from closeness, the silence that once haunted you. Now it feels like peace. And that emptiness, it wasn't a loss. It was a space Allah Himself chose to fill. He didn't leave you. He didn't take everything from you. He took everything that was blocking you, from finally seeing that He was everything you needed all along. And in that moment of surrender, you didn't just heal, you came alive. So if you're watching this right now, feeling like Allah is distant, know this: you were never abandoned. You were shifted from obsession to purpose, from illusion to truth, from them to Him, and everything He took was only so He could give you everything your soul was always meant to hold. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your becoming. Resilient Ummah.